When the anxious finally stop chasing the avoidant, stop. Just stop. Take a breath. Take a moment, because today something changes. For too long, you've been chasing love, chasing validation, chasing someone who keeps running, and every time they pull away, you try harder, you give more, you shrink yourself just to hold on to them. And let me tell you something, that's not love. That's survival mode. That's conditioning. That's your nervous system replaying an old, outdated story that says, if I can just be enough, they won't leave. But here's the truth. You've been trying to earn love from someone who doesn't even know how to receive it. So what happens when you stop? What happens when you finally say enough? I'll tell you what happens. The spell breaks, the energy shifts, the power returns to you, because the moment you stop chasing, you realize something life-changing. You were never the one who was unworthy. You were never too much. You were simply giving your love to the wrong person. And when you stop chasing, something incredible happens. You begin to attract differently. You start drawing in people who don't make you beg for a text, for time, for love. You stop being a prisoner of your past and you step into a new reality where love is easy, where love is safe, where love is reciprocal. So here's the deal. You don't need to be chosen. You need to choose yourself. No more chasing, no more proving, no more accepting crumbs when you deserve the whole damn feast. Because the day you stop chasing is the day you finally start living. Chasing love isn't about love at all. It's about survival. It's about a deeply ingrained subconscious response that was wired into you long before you ever met the person you're chasing. And when someone pulls away, you don't just feel rejection. You feel panic. You feel like your world is slipping out from under you. Your heart races, your thoughts spin, and suddenly nothing else matters except fixing the situation, pulling them back in, getting reassurance, making sure they stay. But this isn't about the person in front of you. It's about something much deeper. Your nervous system has been conditioned to associate love with effort. Somewhere along the way, you learned that love isn't something freely given. It's something you have to work for. Maybe as a child, love came with conditions. Maybe you only felt truly seen when you were pleasing others, when you were earning affection. And so without realizing it, you developed a pattern. You learned that love meant pursuit, that connection meant anxiety, that the moment someone distanced themselves, it was your job to close the gap. And this is why chasing feels so urgent. It's why the moment someone withdraws, you go into overdrive. You text more, you call more, you analyze every word they said, you replay every interaction trying to figure out what went wrong. Your brain isn't just processing a normal human experience of someone needing space. It's treating it like an emergency. And so you react not from a place of clarity, but from a place of fear. You believe that if you just do or say the right thing, you can fix it. If you just prove your love, they'll stay. If you just try harder, they'll come back. But here's the problem. The harder you chase, the more they pull away. And this isn't because you're unlovable or because there's something wrong with you. It's because the dynamic itself is flawed. When you are in a state of chasing, you're not operating from self-worth, you're operating from fear. You're operating from a deep-seated belief that love is something you must earn rather than something you naturally deserve. And the more you chase, the more you reinforce that belief within yourself. And let's talk about what happens to your energy when you're in this space. When you are chasing, you are placing all of your power outside of yourself. You are handing over your emotional well-being to someone else. You are making them the source of your happiness, your security, your sense of self. And when they pull away, it feels like they are taking all of that with them. This is why it hurts so much. It's not just about missing them. It's about feeling like you are losing yourself. Now, let's be clear. This isn't your fault. This is a learned response, a survival mechanism that was wired into you a long time ago. But just because it's a pattern doesn't mean it has to be permanent. Just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's right. And the truth is, love isn't meant to feel like this. Real love doesn't require chasing. Real love doesn't activate your fight or flight system. Real love feels safe, secure, and steady. The moment you recognize this pattern, you begin to break free from it. You start to see that the person you're chasing isn't the solution to your pain. They're the trigger for it. Instead of running toward them, you start turning inward. You start asking different questions. Why do I feel this urgency? Why do I believe I have to fight for love? Why do I equate distance with danger? And as you begin to answer these questions, everything shifts. Because the truth is, the love you're seeking isn't out there. It's not in the person who keeps pulling away. It's in you. It's in the moment you stop chasing. It's in the moment you realize that love was never meant to feel like an uphill battle. The more you reconnect with yourself, the less you'll feel the need to chase anyone. And when that happens, you stop being the anxious one. You stop living in a state of fear. You stop settling for people who can't meet you where you are. And that is where real transformation begins. For so long, you've believed that if you could just do everything right, love would finally feel safe. You've convinced yourself that if you could be more patient, more understanding, more accommodating, then the person pulling away from you would finally stay. You've made them the goal, the prize, the ultimate validation of your worth. But here's the truth. They were never the prize. The real prize is something far greater, your freedom, your self-worth, your inner peace. When you put someone on a pedestal, you don't see them for who they really are. You see them through the lens of your longing, your unhealed wounds, your need for security. You see their potential, not their reality. And that's dangerous because it blinds you to the truth. It keeps you locked in a cycle where you're constantly waiting for them to show up differently to finally give you what you need, but that day never comes. Not because you're unworthy, but because they were never capable of giving in the first place. The avoidant is not the prize. Their love isn't the ultimate reward. They aren't the missing piece that will finally make you feel whole. What you're actually craving isn't them. It's the feeling you think they'll bring. You believe that if they finally commit, if they finally choose you, if they finally stop running, then you'll feel safe. Then you'll feel loved. Then you'll feel like you're enough. But that's the illusion, because no amount of external validation can ever replace the work you need to do internally. And let's be clear, it's not about demonizing the avoidant. They aren't intentionally trying to hurt you. They aren't sitting there plotting ways to make you feel unloved. They are simply acting out their own survival mechanisms just as you are acting out yours. But while you are fighting for closeness, they are fighting to protect their space. While you are desperate to bridge the gap, they are terrified of losing themselves. Two completely different emotional languages, and no amount of effort on your part can change that. This is why chasing them feels so exhausting. It's why you feel like no matter how much you give, it's never enough. Because it's not about you. It's about the fact that they cannot meet you where you are. And the more you try to force it, the more you betray yourself in the process. You start sacrificing your needs just to keep the connection alive. You start accepting less and less, hoping that one day they'll finally give you more. But deep down, you know the truth. You were never meant to beg for love. You don't need to convince someone to love you. You don't need to earn your place in someone's life. You don't need to shrink yourself, suppress your needs, or walk on eggshells just to keep them comfortable. Love isn't supposed to feel like an uphill battle. The right person will not make you feel like you have to fight for a place in their heart. And that's what you need to understand. Your worth isn't defined by someone else's ability to love you. Just because an avoidant pulls away doesn't mean you are too much. Just because they struggle with intimacy doesn't mean you are unlovable. Their fear of closeness is their burden to carry, not yours. It is not your job to fix them. It is not your responsibility to heal them at the expense of yourself. The real prize isn't convincing someone to stay. It's realizing you never had to chase them in the first place. It's understanding that real love doesn't require proving your worth. It's knowing that the right connection will feel easy, natural, and mutual. The moment you stop seeing the avoidant as the prize, you reclaim your power. You step out of the cycle of chasing and start stepping into a space where you attract people who are capable of loving you fully, freely, and without fear. And when that happens, everything changes. You stop seeing love as something you have to earn, and you start seeing it as something that is meant to be freely given. You stop trying to fix the avoidant, and you start focusing on healing yourself. You stop waiting for someone to choose you, and you start choosing yourself. Because the real prize isn't them. It's the peace that comes when you finally realize you were always enough. When you are anxiously attached, chasing love feels natural. It feels like something you have to do to keep a relationship alive. You convince yourself that if you don't try hard enough, the person you love will slip away and you'll be left alone. That fear drives you to overextend yourself, to prove your worth, to cling even when someone is pulling away. But the truth is, the more you chase, the more you reinforce a dangerous belief within yourself, the idea that you have to earn love rather than simply receive it. When you stop chasing, something profound happens. You shift from operating out of fear to operating out of self-worth. Chasing puts the power in someone else's hands. It makes your happiness dependent on whether they respond, whether they come back, whether they finally give you the love you've been waiting for. But when you stop, you take all that power back. You realize that your worth has nothing to do with someone else's ability to love you. This is a difficult realization because it means confronting the part of you that has always believed love must be fought for. It means sitting with the discomfort of not reaching out, not fixing, not trying to mend something that may not be yours to fix. But in that space where you stop reacting, stop chasing, stop trying to control the outcome, you start to find yourself again. You begin to see just how much energy you've been pouring into someone who isn't giving you the same in return. And that realization is painful, but it's also liberating. Because here's the reality. Healthy love doesn't require chasing. It doesn't require convincing. It doesn't put you in a state of anxiety, constantly wondering where you stand. The right person won't make you question whether they want you in their life. They won't make you feel like you're too much. They won't disappear the moment things start getting real. When you stop chasing, you shift from scarcity to abundance. Scarcity tells you, if I don't hold on to this person, I may never find love again. It makes you believe that this one person is your only shot at happiness. But abundance tells you a different story. It reminds you that love isn't limited to one person who can't meet your needs. It tells you that when you let go of what isn't working, you make space for something better. And yes, the moment you stop chasing will feel uncomfortable at first. Your nervous system is wired for the chase, for the pursuit, for the validation that comes when someone finally turns back towards you. So when you stop, it will feel unfamiliar. It may even feel wrong, but it's not because you're doing the wrong thing. It's because you're breaking a deeply ingrained pattern. At first, you may be tempted to go back. You may feel the urge to reach out, to explain yourself one last time, to try and make them see what they're missing. But every time you resist that urge, you send a new message to yourself. You tell yourself, I don't have to beg for love. I don't have to convince anyone of my worth. If someone wants to be in my life, they will meet me halfway. And that's when the shift happens. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you start attracting. You stop attracting relationships based on fear and start drawing in connections based on mutual respect and emotional safety. Because when you operate from self-worth, you no longer tolerate the bare minimum. You no longer feel the need to hold on to someone who can't give you the love you deserve. You don't have to chase love. Real love will meet you where you are. It won't make you question your value. It won't keep you up at night wondering if you're enough. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you realize that love was never something you had to run after. It was something you had to allow. And when you finally allow it, when you stop settling for those who run, you create space for the kind of love that stays. Real love doesn't make you beg, doesn't make you question your worth. It doesn't leave you feeling anxious, wondering where you stand, analyzing every message, every response, every moment of silence. Love, when it is real and mutual, shows up effortlessly. It feels natural, secure, and safe. But when you've been stuck in a cycle of chasing unavailable people, that kind of love can feel foreign, almost too easy. The truth is, when you're anxiously attached, you mistake intensity for connection. You mistake inconsistency for passion. You mistake emotional unavailability for something that just needs a little more time or a little more effort to finally work. But that's an illusion. Love should never feel like a constant uphill battle. It should never feel like you have to fight for the bare minimum. And yet, when you're stuck in the cycle of chasing, it's easy to believe that this is just how love works. You tell yourself that if you just try a little harder, wait a little longer, or prove your worth in just the right way, then maybe, just maybe, the other person will finally choose you. But love is not something you convince someone to give you. The right person will need convincing. They won't leave you feeling emotionally starved. They won't make you feel like you're too much or like your needs are unreasonable. They will be there fully, completely, and willingly. They will make space for you in their life, not out of obligation or pressure, but because they want to. When you've been in the habit of chasing love, this idea can feel almost impossible to believe. You've spent so much time adjusting yourself, proving yourself, over-explaining yourself just to make someone stay. The idea that love could ever come naturally without all the struggle feels unrealistic. But that's not because effortless love doesn't exist. It's because you haven't given yourself the chance to experience. You've been so busy chasing what is unavailable that you stop to ask yourself, what would happen if I let love come to me instead? What if instead of trying to control the outcome, you focused on your own healing? What if instead of waiting for someone to finally see your worth, you decided to see it for yourself? Because here's the truth. When you heal, your standards change. The people you once obsessed over no longer hold the same power over you. The dynamic that once felt like love now feels like emotional exhaustion. You start to realize that love isn't supposed to be a constant test of endurance. It's not supposed to leave you feeling drained, anxious, and uncertain. It's supposed to feel like home. And when you finally embrace that, something incredible happens. You stop tolerating relationships that make you feel like you have to earn your place. You stop engaging in connections where you are constantly proving yourself. You stop chasing and instead you start attracting. The moment you let go of what is inconsistent and unavailable, you open yourself up to love that is solid, steady, and secure. This doesn't mean that love will always be easy, that relationships won't require effort, or that there won't be challenges, but effort and struggle are not the same thing. Effort is mutual. It comes from both sides. Struggle, on the other hand, is one-sided. It's you doing all the emotional labor. It's you holding the relationship together while the other person keeps you at arm's length, and that is not love. It's a cycle that keeps you stuck in pain. So the question is, are you willing to break the cycle? Are you ready to stop accepting love that comes with conditions? Are you finally prepared to believe that the love you deserve will not require you to beg for it, because when you do, everything changes. The people you attract change, the way you see yourself changes, and most importantly, the way you experience love changes. Because love, real love, doesn't make you chase it. It meets you where you are, effortlessly. You don't need to be chosen. You need to choose yourself. So this one shift in mindset changes everything. For too long, you've been waiting for someone to pick you, to validate your worth, to prove that you are lovable. You've poured your energy into people who give you only breadcrumbs, hoping that one day they'll give you more. You've put your heart into relationships where you felt like you had to prove you were worthy of love, constantly adjusting yourself, suppressing your needs, and overcompensating just to keep someone from leaving. But here's the truth. Love doesn't work that way. The moment you make your happiness dependent on whether someone chooses you, you give away your power. You put your sense of self-worth in someone else's hands, making their validation the measure of your value. And that's a dangerous place to be, because the more you chase being chosen, the more you reinforce the belief that you are not enough on your own. This cycle starts early. Maybe you were taught that love was something you had to earn. Maybe growing up, love felt conditional, only given when you behaved a certain way, achieved something, or met someone else's expectations. That kind of conditioning sticks with you. It makes you believe that if you just try harder, if you just do more, if you just become exactly what someone else wants, then you will finally be enough. But let's be clear, love isn't something you prove your way into. If someone is uncertain about you, if they are distant, if they are giving you mixed signals, then they are showing you who they are. And your job isn't to make them love you. Your job is to love yourself enough to walk away from anything that requires you to beg for attention, affection, or commitment. Choosing yourself means recognizing when something isn't right for you, even if you want it to be. It means understanding that just because you feel a deep connection with someone doesn't mean they are the right person for you. It means no longer accepting relationships where your emotional needs go unmet just because you're afraid of being alone. And yes, choosing yourself can feel uncomfortable at first. When you spent your whole life chasing love, stepping back can feel like giving up. Your nervous system has been wired to believe that the only way to keep love is to hold on tighter, to fight harder. So when you stop, it feels unnatural. It feels like you're losing something. But in reality, you are gaining everything. You are reclaiming your self-worth. You are breaking free from the patterns that have kept you stuck in cycles of anxiety and insecurity. When you stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself, everything shifts. You stop putting unavailable people on a pedestal. You stop trying to make someone see your worth and start recognizing it for yourself. You stop fearing rejection because you understand that rejection isn't a reflection of your value. It's just a redirection towards something better. Something incredible happens when you do this. The way people respond to you changes. The moment you fully step into your own power, you naturally attract people who respect, appreciate, and value you. You no longer settle for the bare minimum because you know that real love is abundant, not something you have to fight for. So the question isn't whether someone else will choose you. The question is, when will you finally choose yourself? Because when you do, you will never have to chase love again. It will meet you exactly where you are. Healing from the cycle of chasing unavailable love isn't about changing the avoidant. It's not about waiting for them to come around to finally realize what they lost or to magically wake up and give you the love you've always wanted. It's about you. It's about turning inward and addressing the parts of you that believed you had to fight for love in the first place. For so long, you've been looking outside yourself for validation. You've been hoping that if someone just loved you enough, it would finally quiet the voice inside that tells you you're not enough. You've been chasing a love that feels just out of reach because deep down a part of you has learned to equate longing with love. But real love isn't found in someone who keeps running. Real love is found when you stop running from yourself. At first, this healing process feels unfamiliar. You've spent so much time chasing that stopping feels unnatural. It feels like you're doing something wrong, like you're giving up on something that was supposed to work out. Your nervous system is used to the highs and lows of inconsistent love. It craves the rush of winning someone back, of getting just enough affection to keep going. But that isn't love, that's survival. That's your brain clinging to a familiar pattern, mistaking chaos for passion. The moment you choose to heal, you break the cycle. You stop asking, why won't they love me? And start asking, why am I so drawn to someone who won't love me? You stop focusing on their actions and start looking at your own emotional wounds. You start understanding that the panic you feel when someone pulls away isn't about them. It's about something much deeper. Maybe it's about childhood experiences where love felt inconsistent or conditional. Maybe it's about past relationships where you had to prove your worth to be valued. Whatever it is, healing requires facing it head on instead of searching for love to cover it up. And healing isn't just about understanding the pattern, it's about changing your response to it. It's about noticing the urge to chase and choosing not to act on it. It's about feeling the discomfort of not reaching out, not over-explaining, not trying to fix something that isn't yours to fix. It's about sitting with the fear that if you stop trying, love might slip away, and realizing that real love won't. As you do this, something incredible happens. You start to reconnect with yourself. You start to realize how much energy you've spent on people who didn't deserve it. You start to see that love was never meant to feel like a test of endurance. And when that shift happens, you no longer feel the need to chase anyone. You no longer crave love that comes in waves of uncertainty. Instead, you start craving peace. You start craving consistency. You start craving a love that doesn't leave you guessing. And when you reach that place, the people you're drawn to change. The relationships you allow into your life shift. You stop being attracted to avoidance because they no longer feel exciting. They feel exhausting. You stop mistaking emotional unavailability for chemistry. You stop settling for the kind of love that keeps you in a cycle of anxiety. This is what true healing looks like. It's not about finding someone who finally chooses you. It's about becoming the person who no longer needs to be chosen. It's about realizing that the love you've been chasing was never meant to come from someone else. It was meant to come from you. And when you finally give it to yourself, you stop chasing love, because love, real love, doesn't need to be chased. It arrives and it stays. When you stop chasing the avoidant, you open yourself to a new kind of relationship, one built on mutual effort, respect, and emotional safety. At first, this shift can feel uncomfortable, even unnatural, because you've spent so much time believing that love requires struggle. You've been conditioned to think that if you just try harder, if you just prove your worth, you'll finally receive the love you crave. But love that requires you to overextend yourself isn't love, it's self-abandonment. When you stop chasing, you begin to notice how much of yourself you've sacrificed in the process. You start to recognize the moments you ignored your own needs, excused poor treatment, and accepted less than what you deserved, all in the name of keeping someone close. Walking away from the chase isn't just about leaving behind avoidant partner, it's about shifting your entire perspective on love. It's about unlearning the belief that love must be earned through pain and uncertainty. It's about redefining your standards so that love is no longer something that leaves you anxious and exhausted, but something that brings you peace. This shift requires patience because breaking free from old patterns doesn't happen overnight. At first, you may feel the urge to return to what's familiar, to seek validation from the very people who withheld it. But with time, you begin to see that the peace of not chasing is far more fulfilling than the temporary high of being momentarily chosen. As you embrace this new way of relating, you start to notice a shift in your energy. You no longer attract people who require you to prove your worth. Instead, you begin to draw in those who see your value from the start. You stop accepting breadcrumbs because you've cultivated a sense of self-worth that no longer tolerates emotional inconsistency. You learn that true love doesn't come from pursuit, it comes from alignment. The relationships you once obsessed over no longer hold power over you because they no longer resonate with the person you've become. And that's the most liberating part of the journey, realizing that you no longer have to chase love because the love that is meant for you will never require the chase. When you finally stop chasing the avoidant, you reclaim your power, your self-worth, and your freedom. You realize that love isn't something you have to beg for, prove, or earn. It's something that should be freely given and mutually nurtured. The moment you stop running after someone who won't meet you halfway, you step into a new reality where love is no longer about struggle, but about peace, connection, and reciprocity. Healing from this cycle isn't easy, but it is the greatest gift you can give yourself because in the end, the love you've been searching for has always been within you. So as you walk away from what no longer serves you and step toward the life and relationships you truly deserve, remember this: you were never meant to chase, you were meant to be loved effortlessly. Thank you for being here, for doing the work, and for choosing yourself.